Good evening, girls, and allow me to welcome you to tonight's lesson. Girls, I'm called Adundo Frederick Ranginya, or Mr. Adundo. Actually, the name Adundo Girls is not a nickname. It is a name that I was given by my mother, and I consider my mother to be the most wise woman in the world because she gave me the name Adundo, and here I am, a short person in future, which means I am fulfilling the prophecy of my mother. But I want to tell you that in the brain, you are going to get something better. Adundo Frederick is a teacher of geography and history, and also the HOD Humanities at Barding Boys High School. Girls, currently, I mark Geography Paper 2, and I hope that through our interaction, girls, you are going to benefit from me. I want to begin by saying this. The reason why I'm here with you tonight, I want a scenario where girls from here, girls, the year 2021, are going to make history by being the first candidates class to go to the university, all of them. Girls, it is possible. Today, it is possible for all of us to sit for examination. We pass exam and go to the university. That is a topic of another day. This evening, I want us to look at a topic called photograph work. Remember, geography, unlike other subjects, is the only subject that remains with leakage. Why am I saying that geography has leakage, girls? In geography paper 1, I'm very certain that question 6 is going to be map work. And I know that you are also aware of that. So if you want to pass in geography, you must ensure that question 6 of paper 1, you get 20 over 25 all the way to 25 over 25. Similarly, in geography paper 2, we are all aware that question 6 will either be photograph work or statistical method. You want to be a good student, then you must grasp all the possible areas in photograph work and statistical method so that whichever statistical method is brought, you are able to handle it with a lot of ease. Or whichever area of photograph work that will be set, you should be in a position, girls, to handle that area with a lot of ease. So, girls, tonight, allow me to take you through a topic called photograph work. Girls, can I begin by defining the term photograph? What is a photograph? A photograph is an image of an object, which means if I take a camera and then captures a photo of you, what will be seen in the camera will become your photograph. Hakuna wakati unasema ya kwamba picha imenitoa vibaya, kwa sababu tumesema ya kwamba photograph is an image of an object, so whichever image that comes from the camera becomes your photograph. But girls, it is important to note that the definition of photograph will never be set in KCSE. The reason is this is a practical geography. So girls, as far as photograph work is concerned, which are the areas of interest that you need to grasp and understand? The first area that is normally set in KCSE is known as types of photographs. Girls, there are two types of photographs. Number one, we have ground photograph, and number two, we have aerial photograph. Then you need to know that ground photograph is divided into three, while aerial photograph is divided into two. What are the types of ground photographs? We have number one, ground general view. The second type of ground photograph, girls, is known as ground oblique. The third type of ground photograph work is known as ground close-up. When it comes to aerial photograph, there are two types of aerial photograph. Number one, we have an aerial photograph that is known as vertical aerial photograph. And number two, we have aerial oblique photograph. At this juncture, it is very important, girls, that I tell you this. Since 1989, when the first KCSE was set, up to the year 2020, when the last KCSE was set, when the type of photograph is set, the question is normally very direct. And you'll be asked this question. You will be given a photograph, and then you are asked, identify the type of photograph shown below. When you are asked that question, since 1989 up to the year 2020, the photograph that is normally brought and which will be brought in case a photograph comes in the year 2021 is ground general view. When you are asked, identify the type of photograph shown below, your answer should always be ground general view photograph. But nevertheless, can we just look at the meaning of the types of photographs that I outlined? The first one was ground close-up photograph. A ground close-up photograph is that type of photograph where the cameraman focuses only on one type of object or focuses only on one object. The object can be a person, the object can be a cow, the object can be a vehicle, the object can be an aeroplane or a ship, but the key term here, dear girls, is that the camera focuses on one object. That type of photograph is known as ground close-up photograph. The second type of ground photograph, dear girls, is known as ground general view. What is a ground general view photograph? Girls, a ground general view photograph is a type of photograph where the person taking the photograph and the objects are standing at the same level. But of importance is that the camera focuses on many objects. In a ground general view, the camera focuses on many objects. I mean, the objects that are captured by the photograph are so many. unlike in the ground close-up, where the camera only focuses on one object. After looking at ground general view, through the permission of your teacher of geography, Oumotieno, girls, allow me to take you through the third type of ground photograph. The third type of ground photograph, dear girls, is known as ground oblique photograph. What is a ground oblique photograph? Girls, this is a type of photograph where the person who is taking the photograph stands on a higher ground than the objects. The objects whose image is to be captured are normally on a lower ground, while the person taking the photograph is normally on a higher ground. Such a person can be on top of a building. Such a person taking the photograph can be on top of a tree, or the person taking the photograph, dear girls, can be on a top of a hill, so that the top of the objects and the sides of the objects are captured, unlike in the ground general view, where only the sides of the objects are captured. Girls, ground oblique photographs and ground general view photographs are similar in the sense that the images captured are so many, but the difference is that in the ground general view, only the sides of the objects are captured, while in the ground oblique photograph, both the sides and the top of the objects are captured. After looking at the ground photograph, can we move ahead and look at aerial photograph? Girls, aerial photograph are the type of photograph that are captured by either an aeroplane, either a hot air balloon, or either a satellite. And the images of the objects that are captured are on the ground. If the camera is vertically above the object that is being captured, girls, then the type of photograph that will be captured will be known as aerial vertical photograph, which only captures the top of the objects. What about aerial oblique photograph? These are photographs that is captured with the camera mounted on either an aeroplane or a hot air balloon at a certain angle, or the camera is inclined to the extent that the camera captures a wider area of view, and both top of the objects and the sides of the objects are captured, girls. Remember, I said that under types of photographs, since 1989 up to the time you are going to sit for KCSE, this is the question that you'll be asked. What type of photograph is shown? Those who set KCSE, they normally bring ground general view photograph. So the answer has always been ground general view photograph. What am I saying? You check all the photograph of the past KCSE, then you look at the question. Candidates have always been asked, what type of photograph is this? Then the answer has always been ground general view. Dear guys, teachers having known but in KCSE, only one type of photograph is normally set. Teachers told their candidates that anytime you see a photograph and you are asked to name the type of a photograph, you should always respond as ground general view. In the year 2007 and 2008, the same photograph of ground general view was brought. But now, the setters were very cunning. This is what candidates were asked. The following photograph is a ground general view, and all the candidates were caught unaware, asking themselves in an exam room, if our teachers told us that the answer will always be ground general view, how come we are now being told that the following photograph is a ground general view? And then the setters asked them, give reasons why it is a ground general view. That is an area that majority of candidates gets it challenging. Girls, when you are asked reasons why a photograph is a ground general view, what the setter is simply asking you, what are the characteristics of a ground general view photograph? So, even this year, if a photograph is brought and then you are asked, give reasons why the following photograph is referred to as a ground general view. It's a similar question to what Oumotieno set in the Super League Geography, where candidates were given a photograph and they were asked to give the characteristics of the photograph or to give reasons why the photograph was called ground general view. Girls, a photograph is called a ground general view for number one, it captures many objects or it focuses on many objects. When you are asked, give reasons why a photograph is a ground general view, your answer number one should always be, it focuses on many objects. Your answer number two should always be, the sizes of the objects progressively decreases from foreground to background. I'm introducing a new term called foreground and background. Parts of a photograph. In the parts of a photograph, we have foreground part, middle ground part, and background part. You look at the objects that are at the foreground. Foreground is that place which is closer to the cameraman. The sizes of the objects are normally the largest there. You look at the objects that are on the background. The sizes of the objects are normally smaller on the photograph, even as much as the objects may have the same size in the real life situation. And that is why we are saying this, girls, that characteristics number two, or the reason number two why a photograph will be called a ground general view is that the sizes of the objects progressively decrease from foreground to background. Reason number three, the clarity of the objects decrease from foreground to background. The clarity, how clear is the objects? The objects that appear closer to the cameraman will always be clear compared to the objects that are away from the cameraman. And that is why we are saying that the clarity of the objects progressively decrease from foreground to background. Reason number 4 is that it has a wide general view, or it has a wide area of view. It has a wide general view or a wide area of view. What I mean by this, girls, is that since so many objects are captured, a very large area where such objects are located is also captured. And that is why we are saying that it has a wide general view. Girls, after talking about the types of photograph and the reason why a photograph is referred to as a ground general view, I want us to move ahead and look at a subtopic known as alignment of photograph. We look at a subtopic known as alignment of photograph. Girls, photographs are aligned in 2 ways. Way number 1, we have photographs which are aligned in this manner. And way number 2, we have a photograph which is aligned on the other manner. A photograph aligned in this manner. And then we have a photograph which is aligned on this other manner. This alignment is normally referred to as portrait. This alignment is normally referred to as portrait alignment. Portrait. This other alignment is known as landscape alignment. Portrait alignment and landscape alignment. In the portrait alignment, girls, I was rearranging my camera. I'm sorry for that. But in the portrait alignment, the length or the vertical distance, the vertical distance is normally shorter. The vertical distance is normally longer, while the horizontal distance is normally shorter. In the landscape alignment, what you normally call in mathematics length or horizontal distance is normally longer, while the vertical distance, girls, is normally shorter. So, the most important thing is this. When a photograph has a landscape alignment and you are asked to draw a frame, the frame you draw must also be landscape. If a photograph has a landscape alignment and then you draw a frame which is portrait, this is the frame that you draw, then everything plus your frame will be wrong. If a photograph, it has a portrait alignment, and then the frame that you draw to represent it is a landscape alignment like this frame, then everything, girls, that will be in your frame that you will have drawn will also be considered to be wrong. In simple terms, this is what I'm saying. Under alignment of photograph, if a photograph has a landscape alignment, the frame you draw must also be landscape. If a photograph has a portrait alignment, the frame you draw must also be portrait. It is only then will other features that you will have drawn will be considered to be right. After drawing your frame, you will be asked, draw and label the main features in the frame. Girls, remember this is a photograph work. And if it's a photograph work, the features that you are drawing must look more or less like what is in the object. What I mean is this. Maybe what was on the photograph is a tree, and then you are asked to draw a tree. You don't just come and draw something of this kind, and then you say that this is a tree. The image that you are drawing must look the same as a tree. If it's a vehicle, what you ought to draw must be a vehicle, girls. If it was a donkey, like ACSC of the year 2008, if you can check that, the image that you draw must be the image of a donkey. After drawing all the images, another thing that is considered when you are drawing images, dear girls, you look at the